Meredith expressed that let's just do a mini workshop on improving our balance. So with that said, Meredith, tell us a little bit about what is this balance and how does it work?
Sure. Well, thanks, Afsi, for having me today. And balance is always something we get lots of questions about because it's complicated, and oftentimes we don't appreciate it until sometimes we're losing our balance or having trouble with it. And it's a really complex system. So we have to gather lots of information from our environment around us. So we see our environment, we feel it, how the ground changes underneath us or with our hands. And then we also have to sense how we're moving through it with our little vestibular organ in our inner ear that tells us what position our head is in and how fast or quickly or slowly we're moving through our environment. So we gather all that information and then we process it in our supercomputer, our brain, and then we create an output, a response to adjust. So we take a step or we move our hips or our ankles in order to respond to how we're moving through our environment to keep our balance.
Makes sense.
Yeah, anywhere along that chain, we could have some troubles, we could have some slowdowns, and then when that happens, maybe we aren't able to maintain our balance the way that we really want to.
Wonderful. So how do we know which one of these functions in our balance is not working, and that's why maybe our balance is becoming a challenge? How do we know?
Sure, that's a great question because it is so complex. So what we'll do next is let's all do a little bit of activity and screening together to kind of pick out what each of our individual strengths are and then the areas that we have more trouble with. So we'll go through them together, okay?
Okay,
So let's
sounds
stand
good.
up, and you can stand next to your chair just in case you need it, and hold onto the chair anytime you need it. Otherwise, we're gonna try these without our hands. And the first thing we're gonna look at is how we sort of feel the floor and how it's changing underneath us.
Okay.
So to do that, let's bring our feet close together, and we're gonna try to stand up nice and tall without holding on. And if this is really easy, go ahead and close your eyes. It's gonna become more challenging. We're gonna try to hold it for about 10 seconds. You might sway a little bit, you might wobble, and that's pretty normal, but hopefully you can keep your balance. Good, and then if this is really easy, we're gonna take our pillow and we're gonna stand on our pillow.
So you guys have your pillows?
So grab that pillow, or if any of you have been in therapy for balance, you may know, recommend or remember this blue foam. We're gonna stand on it. Now again, it's more challenging with your feet together, or you can bring them apart if you need to. You can always hold that surface, and then try to keep your balance for 10 seconds. If we close our eyes, again, we're gonna make it a little bit harder. We might sway, but that's okay. You just wanna keep that balance. And again, we're working up to 10 seconds. Now, if this is challenging for you, then this is good to keep in mind. Make a mental note, jot it down, because this exact activity that we're doing now would be one way to start working on that balance. Good, and then if this is really easy, come on off your pillow, set it to the side, and see if you can bring one foot up and start to balance on one foot. Again, you can always hold the chair to make it easier, or really challenge yourself by no hands, and try to work up to 10, maybe even 20 seconds of holding that up there. And this is sort of your ultimate challenge. This one's always hard. But what we do when we walk is we take a step and balance on one foot every time we take a step. So we're constantly standing on one foot, we just don't realize it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Just simple things
Simple
we do
things.
and we don't pay attention.
And just like when we're standing on the pillow, when we walk, we're outside, we're on an uneven grass or gravel and incline. That surface is changing and we want to make those small adjustments. So
Wonderful.
let's try another one.
Okay.
All the time we're reaching up maybe into a kitchen or a bathroom cabinet, and we need to be able to rise up onto our toes and hold it for a few seconds and then come down. Now to make that easier, again, you can hold your chair. To make that harder, no hands, or balance a little bit longer. And if it's pretty tough to come all the way up onto your toes, you can always do this sitting down. But here we really need to be able to feel what's underneath us, see it, and adjust and anticipate how to move to reach up into that cabinet and grab something. Yeah, so this is a really important aspect of our balance we call anticipatory balance.
Which
and
means,
being able to anticipate how you need to move and adjust and shift your weight to accomplish the task.
very
Yeah.
good.
So another really good example of this, FC, is standing up from a chair. So let's sit in our chair, and you can sit right on the edge. Now the easy way to do this would be to use your hands on the chair to stand up. The more challenging way would be to not use your hands. But we want to be able to anticipate, shift our weight, and come all the way up into standing, hopefully without our hands. Good. And this also takes a lot of strength from our legs. So we're really looking at putting all of those pieces together, how we feel, how we process, and then how we move to create that response.
Right, so much goes on with the standing and sitting,
Yeah.
and we do this all
All
day
the time.
long.
Yeah, so what we'll try next, we have a little challenge for everybody. The goal is to try to do 5 of these stand-ups and sit-downs in 15 seconds.
Okay,
Let's see if we can do it. We want to go quickly, but obviously safely. So use your hands if you need them.
okay, so you
Uh,
time us.
I will be your timer on your
You
mark.
guys are ready?
Make sure you count. Get set, go.
All right.
Good, make sure you're counting those stands. We're going for 5 and 15 seconds. You're halfway there. You have 5 seconds left. 3, 2, and time.
Whoa.
Whew, how'd we do?
Well, I lost count because I was so worried to make sure I do it.
Yeah.
How about you guys? How did you do?
Good,
Yes?
we're getting some thumbs up.
So
Always
I
good.
see. All right.
Yeah.
Thumbs up. Wonderful.
Good. So if that was challenging, again, rising up on your toes and standing up and sitting down are the exercises that you would want to practice if those movements are challenging for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many times a day or a week should I do that?
So we definitely want to do it at least 2 to 3 times a week. And if it's something that's really challenging, it's okay to do it every day. And you can do about 10 repetitions and work up to 20 as you're able. Yeah.
10 repetitions to 20. We can do that, right?
That's easy enough, and this is something you might also do in some of your other exercise classes if you go to Silver Sneakers or any of those types of sit and fit kind of classes. But
Very good.
well, let's talk about one more functional movement, our walking balance. So
Okay.
a lot of us are worried about keeping our balance when we're walking because there's a lot that goes into that. So let's practice a few walking balance movements. So when we walk, one of the most important things we need to be able to do is change speed. So as we walk forward, we should be able to go slow and then fast and maybe even stop quickly. We also want to be able to take some steps backwards, like if we were to back up to the chair to have a seat, right? So that's one thing we can practice. You can hold the kitchen countertop if you need it as a guide.
Okay.
Or you can just walk through your living room, your hallway, the gym, and just start slow and try to speed up and go fast and stop quickly and then just try taking some steps backwards.
Oh, backwards.
Yeah, good. And then try going forward again. You can even try turning and going backwards. And you just use the support surface as you need it. But if that's something that makes you dizzy or throws you off a little bit, that would be something to practice.
Okay.
And
Backwards is a little scary, right?
It can be.
Does that go with this, your head knowing
So when we're
where it is?
turning itself, that is a lot of knowing where you are in space using that vestibular or inner ear organ. And some of it is also how we feel the ground underneath us. Because a lot of us rely really heavily on our vision to tell us where we're going versus feeling it and sensing it where our head is in space. But another good way to look at where your head is in space is to walk and turn like you're trying to read the room numbers off of, or the house numbers off of the walls. So I like to have people practice just walking and turning their head as they walk. So you can, again, hold onto that kitchen countertop as you need it.
Okay.
And then,
So in this case, maybe I have a wall
yeah,
and I just
And you
walk,
walk
and look.
and turn, yep. The other one you can do is looking up and down like you're nodding your head yes. as you walk, either forward or backwards. Yeah, kind of like you're scanning the ground to make sure you don't trip over something, and
Right.
like you're
Yeah.
looking up. And then speaking of tripping over something, many of us have grandkids, pets, there's stuff on the floor, even just a tissue box. So another great thing to practice
You
is
come to the middle.
walking and stepping over something like a tissue box or a toy on the floor. So we would walk and try
So
to
it's
step
okay
over.
that I look down
Mhm.
and then come back.
But see if you can make it a smooth movement without having to
Okay.
pause
All right.
as you go over it.
Okay, no
'Cause
pausing.
if you have to pause and adjust, then this would be something that you might need to work on.
Okay.
So it should be a nice smooth movement. You just go over and keep going at the same speed. That's great. Good job.
Woohoo!
All right.
All right. Great.
Very good. So we talked about a couple different aspects of our balance. So we talked about how we feel, how we see, how we know where our head is in space, and then we process it and make adjustments. And then we kind of teased out and practiced some of those movements. So if you're having a hard time standing with your feet together, closing your eyes and keeping your balance, or standing on that pillow, you're having a harder time getting that information from the environment around you without using your vision. So those exercises you really want to practice. Do it safely, stand next to a chair or a countertop, but practice standing with your feet together. Practice closing your eyes. Practice maybe standing on a pillow. Work up to 10 seconds and then maybe 20 seconds. Keep challenging yourself. If you're having more of a difficulty with things like standing up from the chair or rising up on your toes, then you're having more trouble with the execution of the movement, the strength, the range of motion, the power, and planning the movement. And so those exercises are things that you're going to want to practice, like standing up. And we do that lots of times throughout the day, so it's an easy one to fit in.
Right, but maybe we're not paying attention and we
Mhm.
depend on the arm of the chair too much.
Yeah, so
We stand where we could practice and not hang on to the
Absolutely.
chair. And
So
that
try
would give
with-
us leg strength.
try without your arms. You can make it harder by going to a lower chair, and you can make it easier by standing from a higher surface, like the edge of the bed. And just work down as you get stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then our walking balance kind of puts all of those things together. So we have to sense where we are in space, process and adjust quickly. And so walking, if that was more challenging for you with those balance challenges, practice things like walking and turning your head or nodding it up and down, changing directions and turning and walking backwards, and stepping over things and adjusting or changing your speed.
Right. And you know, I'm thinking it's spring and walking is really pleasant. And sometimes I hear a bird, I look up and
Yeah.
not paying attention and I would feel dizzy or just
Absolutely.
different surfaces as I'm walking
Yeah.
in a park or
Yep.
going for a hike. So these are great tips
Yeah.
and very functional.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Oh, you're
And
welcome.
so I'm hearing a physical therapist could tell by doing these assessments, will be able to tell which part may need more focus to
Mhm.
then help the patient practice those areas to,
Yeah, so
you know.
balance is a really complex system, and all of us have different areas where we perform really well and different areas that are harder for us. So we went over some quick screens to kind of tease out what we might need to work on, but we can get even more in depth and more complex about balance. And just like an athlete trains, a football player who needs to get ready for game day isn't going to go to the tennis court and hit the ball against the wall, because that's not going to get him ready for the football game.
right.
So same with balance. You definitely want to meet with someone who's able to assess and tease out your specific areas of need, and then give you the specific exercises to get you ready for game day and performing and maintaining that balance.
Right, and you know, one of the biggest fears is falling and having a good balance.